A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David. And I'm just waiting for my streaming to start properly. Yeah, there it goes. And good morning to anybody on streaming. Good morning. Goodness gracious me. It tells you where my brain is at the moment. We've been watching the election results from the United States, but I won't bother talking about that because it's still way too early. Some of the states don't have closure on voting until 10 p.m, so there's a lot of restrictions on what can be released prior to that. So let's go straight on to a couple of very interesting reports from boats. But first of all, I will tell you that we had a really warm summer's day here today. It's still 21 degrees C, dry, 1022 on the bar, 4 knots of north wind. It's been all over the show, really. We'll call it variable. 100% cloud cover, just sort of the anticyclonic gloom. And I bet those at sea, sort of from about 31 south to us, won't be all that happy because there's just nothing around to move them along, unfortunately. And this is going to be the case for a while. So the old iron Jenica will have to be put to use. Lady Annabelle, however, has sent an interesting report. We didn't copy them too well, so I'm glad I've got it on email. On Starlink, thank you. 23 degrees 45 south, 175 degrees 53 east. This was at 3 o'clock. They're on a course of 185 true at 8 knots. All well on board. The sea state has improved. They left from Fiji. David will be talking about leaving from Fiji. 16 knots of easterly to southeast, 2 metres southeast swell, and a 1.5 metre wind southeast swell, and a lovely sunny clear day. So thank you very much for that. That's Lady Annabelle, and we'll be following their course, their passage with interest. That's Adam and Rachel. Okay, and a good report from Big Fish at Minerva just come in. There's been a steady all day 16 to 18 knots from the east southeast. Bits of cumulus, and they're anxiously awaiting their daughter to come back, hopefully laden with the fruits of her investigation of the reef. Right, well, let's see if I can find Narida, Gulf Harbour. It's a bit light, but if you go slow enough, Jan, I'm not sure why it's so light. Make sure you're on high power and go ahead. Okay, I have Narida at 18 degrees 27 south, 167 degrees 25 east, on a course of 267 true at 7.5 knots, and all I got from conditions was 80% cloud cover. It's a very, very noisy frequency tonight, a very noisy frequency, Jan. So I'm not even going to try and get the wind. It would take forever. But it sounds like you're going really well. So I assume all is well on board. can you give me a Roger, Roger? No, don't worry, Jan. Conditions are very poor tonight. Conditions are very poor, but I have your position. So we'll try and catch you again tomorrow. Over. Yeah, I've got no chance of being able to copy you, Jan. Is there anyone that can relay? Roger, Roger. Whoops, David has just destroyed my... whoops, Daisy. I think I'll pass the microphone and try and get my equipment back to normal. Here's David.
Well, all right, here we go. Got my foot caught in their wires. You should see this mess we got here. Anyway, we see the old Fiji flotilla preparing for departure tomorrow. That's the word that we have for most of you. Many have routers, and many are using their own analysis from typically the three major global models and their personal experience. Many of you have done this trip before. We also have the Tonga yachts and a scattering of yachts in Vanuatu, and some of those are going to New Zealand, some of those are going to Australia. So we've got boats from all over that are heading to various points. So let's look at the synoptic picture using data from the Met services and my analysis of satellite imagery. We've got a complicated pattern that's sitting over New Zealand with three high centers and a depression that's just to the west of Nelson. Now, looking at the 1020 millibar line, looking at that big picture, we have a broad area of quite light air within a large circle that's that this 1020 millibar is describing. And within this line, within this millibar, and by the way, it extends north to 25 south, winds are about 15 knots out of the southeast. Now, that doesn't count 30 degrees south and New Zealand. It's very, very light in there, and those people are suffering because of the fact there's just no wind. Anyway, tomorrow, Thursday, the high is going to merge with just one center, and that will be located at about 40 south and 175 west. It's strong at 1030 millibar. Looking at satellite imagery now, I see a number of organized cloud bands, troughs if you will. One runs from the Solomons right through Vanuatu to 25 south and the Dateline. We've got another one that parallels this one, and it's just to the north of it, and it runs to the southeast right through Kindavu and, well, through Nuku'alofa for the most part. Cloud from it covers much of Fiji with large clusters to the north of Fiji, so that would affect Wallis and Samoa and quite a bit to the north of them as well. So now for the winds. We have a strong wind warning in force for Vavau, the Hapais, Tongatapu, and the Minervas not so much. For Tongatapu, we've got southeast 15 to 20, rising to 25 to 30 at times. And for the Minervas, we're looking at southeast about 10 to 15 knots and rising to 20 knots at times. And seas are going to be, are about 2 meters. And much the same Thursday, give or take. So that's the weather for you folks that are in Tonga. So winds for the Fiji yachts, we're seeing a strong wind warning for, this is from Fiji Met, a strong wind warning for southwest Viti Levu, the Asawas, Kundavu, and, well, good old Vatuira Pass. For these areas tomorrow, you could expect winds 20 to 25 knots and rough seas with moderate southerly swells. So it's a bit lumpy for departure, and it's going to be about the same for Friday. So let's add to this plenty of convective activity based on the imagery that I'm seeing. So that's just to the south of Fiji, what I just described, those troughs that are sitting there. I'm seeing quite a bit of activity, so you could expect showers, squalls, wind shifts, the usual thing that you find in these sort of troughs. So anyway, if you are underway, be ready for evening action, as I would call it, due to what we call radiative cooling. And what's this? All right. The tall clouds that we see during the day, well, they're fed warm air from obviously the sun and the warm seas that we have up there at night. With no sun to heat the cloud tops, well, they cool, and this allows for quite a bit of condensation, and that turns to rain and squalls and downflow winds. Now, when these winds hit the surface, they spread out in all directions, causing wind shifts, as you could imagine. And these could be quite strong, and I think many of you know all about this. So that's the worry in the nighttime when you're around these troughs. So anyway, leaving Thursday looks sort of lumpy, bumpy, and wet at times. 8 days later now, Friday the 15th, I believe it is, Friday the 15th. That possibly is an arrival date, according to a few of the yachts. So what's the weather going to be? Looking at models that far out is, well, that's not going to be very reliable, but we may see a Tasman depression just to the west of Auckland, really, in the Tasman, with a frontal band over the North Island. Yeah, that's Opua and Marsden is included, and this band extends almost due north, goes up and down 175 east, and that also happens to be the west side of our departing high. The isobars are quite squeezed right around 175, so we're looking at possibly northerly winds 25 knots and possibly gale force. But anyway, that is just an idea. It's pretty far out, so we'll just have to wait and see what really happens. So that's the story for the boats that want to leave on Thursday, and an idea as to what 8 days worth of sailing will give you at the end of that period. And in between, the winds are in a very good direction. So it's one of those things that off you go, and just wait and see. So anybody that has any questions, feel free to call. Here's the chief.
Yeah, well, evidently propagation is pretty grim, so I'm not sure that we'll hear anybody on the radio, but thanks to Starlink, at least Elon Musk is doing that right. I can't say much for the rest of what he's doing at the moment. But anyway, Freitas has reported in with 23 degrees 16 south, 175 degrees 38 east. Thanks, Paula. 18 to 20 southeast and a 1 metre swell. 5% cloud cover, 194 true. I presume, I'm just going to go back to that email. Hang on a minute. What's the 194 all about? Oh, the course. Goodness gracious me. Because I didn't put their speed down. 194 true course, and the bar is 1025. Course over ground 194, but I don't have the speed, and there is nothing on the AIS. They're another boat that's not got an AIS functioning away from land for some reason. Okay, this is Gulf Harbour Radio. Thanks for that, Paula. Is there anybody wanting to make contact? I am checking emails and the it's like a one-arm paper hanger here, and the streaming. Is there anybody with anything? Hang on a minute. I've got a greeting for Freydis from Whitehall. Looks like good progress, says them, and if you're still there. So good afternoon to Whitehall, patiently waiting to go north. And was the boat that was calling for Gulf Harbour, or are you waiting for me to finish the net? Over.
This is Lady Annabelle to Gulf Harbour. Over.
Oh, I do, thank you. Yes, it's a much better copy than last night, Rachel, and looks like everything is going well. I'm glad the sea is down a bit. Over.
Yes, thanks. I heard you read out our position. I was just checking how we're getting through. So thanks for letting us know. We'll check in again tomorrow, Patricia.
Yeah, actually, the signal is really good now, so that's good. Anyone listening would be able to certainly recognise your voice coming through on the streaming. So, yep, well, it sounds like a good fast start, so good that you put up with a bit of roughness at the start. Okay, we'll clear with Lady Annabelle. Is there anybody else? No, I'll leave it there. Thank you, David, for the update. Sounds like there's going to be a real gaggle of boats departing from both the Tonga group and from Fiji shortly, so that will be interesting to watch progress. Anyway, it's better to have it rough at the start and get in before any frontal systems in New Zealand, so keep that in mind. Cheers, everybody. The frequency is available for anyone who wants it.